in November of 1915, where William Joseph Simmons climbed atop Stone Mountain, Georgia, with those men and built an altar, right? And said he heard the angels of heaven rejoicing as they built that altar to erect the second generation of the Ku Klux Klan. This is an authentic Ku Klux Klan hood from that second rise. But when you investigate their wares, this is the robe. What do you see prominently displayed? The cross. It's central. Now, interestingly enough, that red drop of blood in the middle of the cross is not the blood of Jesus, but it's the blood of the white man, and the blood that they perceive that they have shed in order to create this nation. That's just one aspect. I just got back from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm an Emerson Collective Fellow, and I'm researching a gentleman by the name of W.W. Wilbur, who was a slave seller in Charleston, South Carolina. For those who don't know, Charleston, South Carolina, as a port, was responsible for 40 to 50% of all black people entering this country in chains. These are the literal chains. You saw them featured in the documentary that appeared beforehand. These are the literal chains of W.W. Wilbur. If you read them, it says W.W. Wilbur, slave seller on one side, 1806. On the other side, it says strong, healthy African Negroes. Lot number 32. The reason this is important is because in 1845, W.W. Wilbur is a part of a conversation with slave sellers from across the state of South Carolina in terms of how they would use Christianity amongst the enslaved. They're establishing the rules of order for what is appropriate in teaching slaves about Jesus. And in those minutes, they make it very clear that you should not say anything or allow any reading that will inspire liberation. As a matter of fact, a white person must be present to prove all that is shared in that space. One final thing I want to share with you here, because I think this is important. This is an authentic lynching postcard. If you look on the face of this, you see the depiction of a black man hanging by his neck. These were popularized during the 20th century. Mass-produced images of black death. The importance of this postcard is when we know when did most public lynchings happen. Most public lynchings happen on Sunday. So white worshipers left worship to kill black people. Matter of fact, there's a film called The Same. Came out in 2019, and they asked a gentleman from the South in that film if he knows of any of his white neighbors who still have the body parts of lynching victims preserved in their homes. It's in 2019. And he refuses to answer the question as to not incriminate his neighbors. That's the history of oppression. When you move beyond the history of oppression, right, to the whitewashing of Jesus, we have to talk about an aspect of our history which is understudied, which is the Naturalization Act of 1790, where America literally says that whiteness is a prerequisite to citizenship. So when people say this is a white person's country, historically they're not wrong. It's not until 1868 with the 14th Amendment that black people are brought into the conversation. 1924 that indigenous people are brought into the conversation. 1954 that Asian American people are brought into the conversation for citizenship. But the reason that's important in 1790 is up to that time, Puritan understandings of depictions of the divine permeate America, meaning that you don't have any artistic depictions of Christ. But around the time of this Naturalization Act, you all of a sudden see the emergence of the white Jesus. The white Jesus is to give endorsement to citizenship, basically creating God in your own image and determining who can be welcomed to the American enterprise. And then finally, we talk about apathy. I don't know that there's any more racist organization in the world than white Christian evangelicalism. I don't know if there's any more racist institution. Because the persons who worship there then go out to enact harms in the legislatures, in the mass incarceration in our country and in so many other spaces. And so if you're looking for an image of Christ that is welcoming and embracing of all, but that is the image that you see, ultimately you see a white supremacist God.